If every college in the world decided to make students study Djokovic's mental strength, it wouldn't be such a bad idea. I mean, the guy's mental strength is so enviable that almost every motivational speaker has used it at some point to explain something about resilience. But we don't want you combing through hundreds of hours of motivational speeches just to figure that out, because today, we're going to be hearing it straight from the horse's mouth. In today's video, we'll explore the secrets behind Djokovic's mental strength as explained by the man himself. Djokovic has proven over and over that he isn't just a player who wants to win Grand Slam titles. He is actually going for the crown of the greatest of all time. And with Federer retiring and Nadal suffering with injuries, Djokovic could actually be called the best tennis player on the face of the planet right now. I'll raise you one even better. Djokovic is perhaps the greatest player to ever play the game of tennis. And Forbes, Sports Illustrated, Reuters, ESPN, and a bunch of other media outlets agree with this fact. Not only has he won a record 24 Grand Slam titles, he also holds the most weeks at the #1 spot. Djokovic is also a major pain in the butt for the big guys. Did you know that he has won more times against Nadal and Federer than they have ever won against him? I mean, Rafa Nadal even outright said that Djokovic is the best in history. And it's hard to argue against that. Okay, I've made my point. But what has made him so different from the others? Some might argue that Novak became a better player in 2011 after he announced changes to his diet and got better with his serves. He's also considered the best when it comes to returning serves. And he understands the game of tennis so well that he could train you with a blindfold for an entire year. But let's face it, Djokovic is perhaps not the best player ever when it comes to technique. In fact, he's played so many games where he clearly wasn't the better player, but still somehow won. So, is it about the skills or the mentality? I think I'll let the stats do the talking. During the 2019 Wimbledon final, Novak was down 2 match points against Roger Federer, and everybody thought it was the end of the road. Come on, it's Federer. There's nothing anyone can do, right? Well, not if your name is Djokovic. In a crazy twist, he came back from this and won the game, adding another title to his trophy room. Just 2 years later, he won against Rafael Nadal at the Roland Garros 2021 final. And this was Nadal's 3rd ever loss in the competition, and Djokovic's 19th Grand Slam title. I know that sounds pretty badass, but that's because you haven't even heard the whole thing. Way back in 2014, Novak was also playing against Federer in the Wimbledon final, and from all indications, it looked like Federer was going to take that one home. But out of nowhere, Djokovic fought off breakpoints and landed a victory against Federer. There's also something quite fascinating about the improvement since 2011. Between 2008 and 2010, Novak had a 79% win percentage. But from 2011 until now, his winning record sits at 90%. And if he doesn't retire in a few years, we all know what's going to happen to that number. Oh, and let's not forget to talk about the 3 biggest players he went against: Andy Murray, Rafael Nadal, and Roger Federer. Since 2011, Federer and Murray have won 5 times each against Novak, and Nadal managed to bump it up to 7 times. But Novak has won 8 against Murray and 12 games each against Nadal and Federer. So, is it really about the skills? Definitely not. The truth is, Novak improved his mental toughness over the years, and he always used that pressure of playing against the big boys to his advantage. But how exactly did he do that? Djokovic has never avoided talking about his mental strength, and in several interviews, he's mentioned that his mental strength is really the secret to his immense success. And just like you guessed, it didn't suddenly start one day. In fact, you might think what I said at the beginning was a joke, but Novak has actually advocated for schools and sports institutions to pay more attention to mental training. Why? Because it works for the guy. Now, let's talk about the real deal. What exactly did Novak practice to get to this level? Well, for starters, Djokovic is a huge fan of mindfulness. And basically, it's when you give your brain a break to focus on the present moment. Mindfulness is like saying to your brain, hey, chill out for a second and enjoy the current moment. You don't have to be so dramatic. Our minds can be like a playground sometimes, disorganized, loud, and intrusive. And you'd be right if you say it's impossible to focus on anything without our minds drifting. Well, Djokovic has got some advice for you. In his own words, he says, "I do it, mindfulness, every day for about 15 minutes, and it is as important to me as my physical training. Instead of trying to silence your mind and find inner peace, you allow and accept your thoughts as they come. They do bounce around like crazy, but they're supposed to. Your job is to let them come and go." So usually when Novak is losing or makes a poor serve, he doesn't allow his mind to feed him with the usual taunts of him not being good enough or not standing a chance. Instead, he lets the mind do all of the talking it wants, but he focuses instead on the game and how to turn his luck around. And this pure energy puts him in a better position to go against whoever was winning against him. In fact, in the post-match interview for the 2014 Wimbledon final, he admitted that he could have easily lost his concentration in the fifth set, and that would have ended the game in Federer's favor. But he didn't, because he was able to find that inner strength, which came from mindfulness, and turn into a beast on the court. And this is what he goes on to say about mindfulness. "I've done so much mindfulness that my brain functions better now automatically. I used to freeze up whenever I made a mistake. Now, when I blow a serve or shank a backhand, I still get those flashes of self-doubt, but I know how to handle them." So, it's really not about making mistakes, according to Djokovic. You can make as many as you need to become better. But Djokovic will never allow that setback to determine how he approaches a game. Mindfulness is, without a doubt, one heck of a secret for mental strength. But it's not the only mental trick Novak has up his sleeves. One other secret that this man has is resilience. According to Novak, this is the ability to adapt quickly after a bad start or a bad game. But if you want to develop your resilience like Novak has done, well, he believes that you have to do the most difficult tasks. For him, this meant going head-to-head constantly against the biggest players of his time, and that he did so without fear in his heart to the point that fans had to wonder if other players like Federer were scared of playing against him. Interestingly, it also goes way beyond facing your biggest fears. Novak knew that to master resilience, he also had to be open to new things and ideas. Novak hasn't stuck to one style his entire life. He changed his diet a number of times, and we all know how he openly says there's been major changes to his physical preparation. But here's one secret that not every fan knows. The #1 star player knows how to choose his mental battles. Okay, but what does that even mean? Let's look at it this way. Imagine for a moment that you become the most powerful ruler in the entire world, and you must fight to protect your kingdom. But what happens when you decide to fight every single war that comes your way? While you might win these little battles, you will definitely be too tired to fight when the bigger ones come. But if you choose to fight only the big battles, you will have all the time in the world to prepare, and of course, win. It's exactly the same with Novak. He admitted that his motivation has changed, and he is no longer able to play every tournament. But the Grand Slams? He's definitely going to mentally prepare for those ones, and try his best to win them. The secret? Choosing his battles and preparing accordingly. But here's an important question you might want to ask. Has this really been the reason why Djokovic has stayed at the top for so long? Of course! How has Novak handled almost every issue on and off the court? He accepted them and adapted to the situation immediately. And when he was asked the exact same question on ESPN, here's what he said. "I stopped thinking too much about what could happen and relied on my physical and mental strength to play the right shots at the right time." I guess that's some pretty solid advice that we could all use, Mr. Novak. Now, how did you react when your gym teacher in high school asked you to do breathing exercises? I can guess that most of you watching this video probably thought that that was a waste of time. Well, as it turns out, that is one of the secrets to Djokovic's mental strength. He once said that breathing exercises are criminally underrated, and advises everyone to take 15 minutes each day to do some breathing exercises. But why? The tennis star believes it's the greatest way to understand your mental strength and well-being, and of course, a great way to improve them. So when Novak asks you to take a deep breath, he doesn't mean that figuratively. Phew, that was quite a ride down the mental strength road, but I'm sure you've picked up 1 or 2 lessons from the GOAT. If you found some super effective secrets that Novak Djokovic uses but hasn't talked about, share with us in the comments section. We'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to learn more interesting things about your favorite tennis players.